Hello all, welcome back to Daska Discusses. Glad you could make it. Well, if episode 1 was about the magic of video stores and what we lost, episode 2 is about one of the films that defined an era, or defined cinema, I believe, really. And you know what I'm talking about? Here's a clue. Oh yeah. That's right. JAWS. The 1975 film directed by Steven Spielberg, based on a 1974 novel of the same name, the legit first blockbuster of cinema, one of the greatest of all time, the goat shark movie, or shark goat movie. More than just a movie. This is JAWS. And, well, this episode, guys, we're not going to talk about whether JAWS is good. It's going to be about why it still works, why it still scares us, and how my own memory of watching it for the first time shaped the way I think about movies. So let's step back, let's jump on that Orca and talk about, well, discuss JAWS from a nostalgic point of view. Let's do it. Now, sorry about that cheesy. Now in the background you can probably hear just an ambience of just water, the bell, the distinct kind of sounds of the film JAWS. Now, I remember the first time I watched JAWS, it was probably on an old VHS tape that my dad had double taped it off my uncle or something like that. Remember double tape VCRs? They were like the pinnacle of like tech in the early 90s or mid 90s. It was like the double VCR. You can like double tape things. It was like a really big deal. Anyway, I'll return to more of that later. But I don't remember my exact age, but I remember sitting on the couch, lights off, and I have a vague memory of watching it with my cousin. I was probably about 8 or 9. Even though I knew it was just a movie, I remember feeling like something dangerous was out there. Like, out in the ocean. I knew there was like obviously sharks out there, but that feeling, that tension, that unease is something that modern films don't always give you in the same way. Why is that so? I'm asking you. I'm not saying that modern films can't create tension. I'm just saying JAWS was on a different level. Now the key thing about the film, let's talk about it, why it still works. The whole thing about why it still works is because it's so powerful, because you don't actually see the shark that often. Instead, you feel its presence with John Williams' music, the point of view shots, the ripples in the water, that iconic theme that we talked about. 2 distinct notes. It scares you. Come on. It is iconic for a reason. And if you've watched the making of it, you'll know. Now, I wasn't alive in 1975, obviously, so I wasn't there to see it be the blockbuster that it was in public. However, I did teach the making of JAWS and JAWS to my upper secondary classes over the years, and the amount of fear that it gave for people to get out into the water was real at the time and still is. And I read this quote that said, after JAWS, the ocean didn't feel like a playground anymore. It felt unpredictable. And I believe that. I just think, moving on from its cultural phenomenon, how important it is to cinema, it wasn't just the shark stuff, guys. It was what makes JAWS more than just a shark movie is the characters, the storyline, obviously. The fact that you're on Amity Island, you're secluded on an island, so it's kind of like no escape in a way. But especially 3 characters, Brody, Quint, and Hooper. And we'll have a chat about some key scenes with them, but Quint, Robert Shaw, come on. The Indianapolis speech that we'll talk about later. Quintessential viewing, and we'll talk about it later anyway. The other thing I want to put to you guys out there listening, by the way, thanks for listening, and thank you for those who have followed and reviewed. I appreciate it if you could do that if you haven't. Would Jaws feel the same way if you watch it for the first time today, do you think? Do you think modern audiences experience films differently? I don't know. Last year I made it my mission to see it on the big screen for the 50th anniversary, and I'll say this, it was like watching it for the first time. It was that good. Like watching the Universal logo come up on screen, and those weird, if you've seen the movie recently, you'll know, turn up the volume in the opening shot of the Universal logo, and there's this weird subsonic sonar type of noises that you can hear. Now there's a really good Facebook group that talk about this. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, I'm a big fan of them. Anyway, so I remember watching it in the cinemas last year, and I'm like, this is a different film. I've seen this so many times. It's in my top 5 films of all time, but it feels like I'm watching it for the first time. Now, before I get into my favorite scenes breakdown, I just want to ask you guys something. Is it me, or whenever summer comes around, even now, but especially when I was a kid, oh, perfect. You travel down the coast with your family, maybe you hire a house or a caravan, whatever. But I get this feeling when I'm staying in a small coastal town. So, example, I used to and sometimes travel up to this small coastal town up on the New South Wales coast, Eden, Merimbula. Eden mainly. It's a small coastal town. Not many people, but it is buzzing a bit in summer. Merimbula, which is further up, buzzes a bit more. Now, when I get there, you got your house or caravan, but you go for a walk down the beach and through the town, and I get this feeling that I'm in Amity Island and that I'm in the Jaws universe. I know it sounds ridiculous, but maybe it's being in a small coastal town, maybe because Jaws is such an important film in my life, but I feel like you go to the coastal towns, go to the beach, and it hits differently. Now, I know people are like, I watch Jaws and I can't get in the water, or don't mention that movie when I'm going to the beach. Now, you can go to any beach, Melbourne, Rye, Mornington, St Kilda. It's different, these public beaches. But I'm talking about when you actually travel to a small coastal town. Now, I'd love to go to Martha's Vineyard. It'd be amazing. But taking it out of Melbourne for a second, being in a coastal town anywhere and just looking out into the ocean, or going boogie boarding or surfing or whatever, I don't know. It's weird, but I think that what makes Jaws such an iconic film is that it transcends just being a movie. Because we all go to the beach, because we all swim, because most of us, well anyway, try to swim, surfing, boogie boarding, we do all that. But in the back of your mind, you're going a bit further deep into the water, and you're like, why is it so dark there? I'm getting deeper. Or was that just a little splash? What is that? You just freak out a bit because you're thinking something is watching me, something's underneath me. And that's why I think Jaws works. But forgetting about that, let's move on, shall we? Let's talk a bit about my favorite scenes. Now, I've got a few, so we'll run through these as quick as we can, but my favourite scenes, well, we'll start off with the first one, is the opening attack. Chrissy Watkins, pure horror, man. I'm talking like, especially that view of her, the shot of her on the edge of the water from underneath is creepy, and the way the camera moves up and slowly towards her and John Williams' score kicks in, it's chef's kiss. It sets the tone of the movie. But the fact that right before that, it's just a normal beach party, and then this girl and this guy, they start running. She gets into the water, and then I'm telling you, man, it's that view from underneath the water looking up. You can picture in your head, and you see her swimming on the top of the water, and it's like the shark's point of view. Freaks me out. And that music when it kicks in, dun 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 dun, and then bang, it takes her leg. Anyway, Alex Kitner and the dolly zoom. Yep. We're talking about the kid on that inflatable raft, and then that famous Vertigo effect, or the Vertigo shot. That is peak quality camera work by Spielberg. And I think that part, you could just link that and basically think that, okay, this movie is not just about a shark, whatever. This is actually getting scary because to see a young kid get eaten like that, it's pretty graphic. And if you know about the deleted scenes, the images that are out, and some of the footage, it's pure nightmare fuel. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. But yeah, that dolly zoom, I show it in class so many times. It's a brilliant use of cinematography that makes you feel like you are Brody sitting there watching that kid get eaten. And that sound effect. Anyway, next, the introduction of Quint. Look, I just think Robert Shaw plays the role so well. Should have got an Oscar but didn't. But that whole thing with the chalkboard, you know me, you know I learn living. I'll catch this bird for you easy. Ain't gonna be easy. Bad fish. Love that speech. But I'll catch him and kill him for 10. Quint feels like he belongs in a different era of the sea, and we find out more about him. And I just think Robert Shaw's performance is great, but that intro of him just really works well. Next, the Ben Gardner jump scare. Again, one of cinema's most iconic scares. Still scares me. Even scared me big time as a kid. But it's that sound when Hooper's swimming and then he swims into that patch into the boat, and then all of a sudden, I wish I had that sound to play, but it's just like, it's just loud as. Big jump scare, and that floating head, creepy as. The next scene is the estuary attack. So, again, in that pond where there's been that prank from those kids, and then Brody's wife is like, Michael's in the pond, and then he's running there, and then that guy on the boat, you guys okay over there? You know that guy? The guy in the red boat, and the other boys, like Chief Brody's son and the two mates are on their little boat, whatever they want to call it, but then that guy in the red dinghy with the oars, you know, that real thick Boston type accent, you guys okay over there? And he gets his boat hit by the shark, and then there's that one shot of him getting eaten by the shark, but you see Bruce or Jaws coming from literally under the water to grab his leg. You don't see the shark clearly, but it is, I'm going to use this again, nightmare fuel. Everyone uses it, but that shot there is scary, and it's one of the best shots, I think. I wish I could show you, but you'll know which scene I'm talking about. Now we're moving on to the 3 men on the boat. 3 men and a baby, 3 men on a boat. The second half of the film, or the last, it's like 45-minute kind of sequence, but you could break this down. You could break Jaws down into being 2 separate films. One, you've got all the Amity Island stuff, and then the second part of the film is where we've got Quint, Hooper, and Brody out on the Orca with Quint on Quint's boat. Now, if you played the board game, the Jaws board game, that's how it's kind of split up as well. I have it, but I haven't played it properly because no one wants to play it. But 3 different very personalities forced together on this claustrophobic boat. The film becomes like a character in this, kind of like Gotham City becomes a character in The Dark Knight. Same thing in this. It's the shark's domain, and you're in my house now, so yeah. You're going to need a bigger boat, often misquoted as we're going to need a bigger boat, of course. The barrels, gotta love the barrels. Making the audience scared of yellow barrels is genius. I mean, how do you think of a way, well, we can't show the shark, so what do? I know, okay, let's think about maybe having barrels attached to it so you can give the shark some sort of presence in the film. It's genius. So that whole sequence, the whole half of the film is great, but getting more in detail to that part of the film is Quint's Indianapolis speech. I think it's the emotional heart of the film, but it explains why he is the way he is. It makes the shark hunt deeply personal, not professional. The quiet, haunting delivery makes it more powerful. And you can talk about one of the greatest monologues in film history. Should have won the Oscar, but who cares about that? He should have won, doesn't matter. But it's such a great speech. And I'm not even going to attempt to do an impression, but why not? Something like, Here we go. And the thing about a shark is it's got lifeless eyes, black eyes like a doll's eyes. When it comes at you, it doesn't seem to be living till he bites you, and those black eyes roll over white, and then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming. The ocean turns red and tear you to pieces. It is such a good scene, and the music behind it, John Williams' score, is fantastic as well, so eerie, but it is one of the best monologues in cinema history, and it comes right after they're singing their songs as well. Actually, no. They start singing after that. What am I talking about? But yeah, it's a good scene. It's a fantastic scene. In the top 3 scenes of the whole film. Another little thing is the comet in the sky. Straight after that Indianapolis speech, when things go a bit haywire and Quint grabs a rifle, starts shooting at the barrels, you can feel Brody's fear. He runs to his bag, pulls out his pistol, revolver, and then when Hooper's asking me, "You okay, Marty? You okay?" You see right above him a comet fly. Now, what they say is that, was that for real, or was it digitally put in? No, apparently it is 100% for real, because think about it, visual effects back in the 70s, how can you do that? And why would Spielberg do something like that? So, bit of an Easter egg there to have a look at. Keep an eye out for that comet in that scene. Now, Quint's death, I swear, this scene still, I saw it at the cinemas, and I'm like, wow, this is brutal, shocking, unforgettable. The shark does jump onto the boat, which breaches the boat, which is creepy. And can that happen? Who knows? You know what? It's actually more brutal than people remember. They cut a lot of it out on TV, and when you look at it, if you ever watched it for a long, long time, you're like, wow. He's spewing out blood. It's like really graphic, but it's so well done. And he grabs the machete. He just does not want to go, and he just tries to take the shark with him, but the shark wins, obviously. And then the last scene is the smile, you son of a... Oh, yeah. It is a ridiculous type of ending, but if you watch the making of it, you'll see that Spielberg said, "I've had the audience for 2 hours. I don't care what's going to happen. I'm going to blow up the shark." So it is quite crazy watching Brody go toe-to-toe like a Mortal Kombat fight. But what makes Jaws timeless is not just that scene, but the whole film itself. It's so ingrained in cinema history, and it's so important to cinema, how it worked with tension and soundtrack, everything, right? In many ways, it's not just a great film, it's a reminder of how powerful movies can be when they play with our fears could be about the water. Maybe you never had a fear about the water, but it definitely gave you that. And your imagination. You may think you're in the water and you see something and you're like, what is that? But after you've seen Jaws, things do seem a bit different. It made me want to draw a lot of sharks as a kid. Then you had the sequels, but we'll talk about that another time. And just to finally wrap up on Jaws, it's only been a, quick 20-minute conversation, but I want you guys to, in the comments, write in what your favourite part of the film was and how you felt. When was the last time? Well, you can put in your comments what was your favourite part from the film Jaws, or you can write maybe what did you feel the first time you saw it? Were you actually scared to get back in the water? Now the sequel is where the tagline came from, which was just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. So interesting, people kind of label it on this film, but it's not. It's actually taken from part 2. So I think that's about it, guys, for now. But I just want to say thank you for listening to this episode 2 of Daska Discusses. Until next time, guys, keep safe of the water, keep watching, keep remembering, keep discussing. Don't forget to follow me on Spotify, chuck me a review, and, well, like I said, answer that question for me in there. And I will catch you guys next time on Daska Discusses. Thank you so much. And show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Catch you later. Bye.